Wherever Duke travels, there is a big red circle on that opponent's calendar, and today is no different as a sellout Vert Stadium is on hand to watch the High Point Panthers host the second-ranked Duke Blue Devils. And we say hello here from the press box at Vert Stadium alongside the Lax Rat, Mike Guerriere, Sam Goldfarb here. And Mike, let's jump right into this matchup. It's a High Point team that is coming off a comfortable victory over Mercer, but hey, a major leap up against the national runners-up in terms of competition.
We saw a new faces of High Point Panther men's lacrosse players usher in. A lot of guys stepped out. Hunter Vines, Michael Ippolito on that midfield front. You have Tommy Meehan now, healthy, coming into their first outing with 2 goals. He played exceptional. It's going to be a really nice matchup here at Vert Stadium. We have a good one in store for you guys.
Well, Mike, it's funny you mentioned newcomers because taking a look at our players to watch for Duke, Josh Sawada led this team in points, a team star-studded with returners, but he was the standout last weekend.
The Blue Devils picked him out of the transfer portal. Josh Sawada comes over from the University of Michigan, an exceptional ex-attacker, but he can move around all over the place for this Duke offense. He is one that you are absolutely going to have to look out for and lock down on defense.
A Duke offense that ranked 5th in the nation in scoring offense a season ago. Zach Overend is going to have to stand on his head if High Point has a chance today.
Your second career start being against the number 2 Duke Blue Devils. He is absolutely going to have his hands full today. He's going to need to stand on his head, make some exceptional saves, but it's not only his job. The defense is going to have to come out and communicate with him and be able to form a great defense against this exceptional offense that Duke has.
Well, just about set for the opening face-off here from Vert Stadium. It's a major battle to watch at the X today, Mike. Jake Naso, one of the best in the country, against the ever-game Colin Hoban.
Jake Naso has made a career for himself, made his name set and sold into the Duke Blue Devils history. Career leader in freshman face-off wins his freshman year. And there's High Point getting their first win at the X. A huge momentum booster in this first couple seconds of the game.
Well, Naso went about 18 of 23 at the X last game against Bellarmine, so huge break to start for High Point.
Yeah, they're going to have to counter and rake a lot with Jake Naso today. He loves to get to his third exit and get it out to himself, so High Point doing a really good job getting into the hole at X.
Here is Tommy Meehan making his second start in a return from injury. And now Jack Van Overback, the key X attacker, looking topside. You're a big fan of Meehan's game, Mike.
Tommy Meehan coming off an injury. His freshman season, he was actually a face-off guy. 9 of 19 against UNC. One of the most interesting games that I've seen from High Point throughout their tenure in the Division I spectrum.
A High Point team in their second year of A-10 ball as Braden Maye, the second-team all-conference selection from a season ago, looks to get inside. He'll flip it over for Nick Rizzo, the preseason all-A-10 selection. A Britt eyebrow raising, only one preseason all-A-10 selection for High Point despite all of the offensive stars. There's a yard sale, and it's going to go back to Duke.
Playing without his stick there, obviously great call from the referee. Easy opportunity for the Duke Blue Devils now to get an offensive possession.
This is one of the best offenses in the nation, bringing back reigning Towartson winner Brennan O'Neill. And now you get your look at our player to watch, Josh Zawada, the all-time Michigan leader in points.
This Duke offense is one of the best in the nation. And there you see Andrew McAdory, one of the fastest, most quick midfielders in all of college lacrosse.
Well, he takes the first shot on cage, over and equal to it, backed up by Zawada. So many St. Anne's products, the arch rival of your Chaminade High School, Mike.
My alma mater, and usually the scale tips towards Chaminade in the blue and white, but throughout the past couple seasons, it's been all Friars.
Quick dodge inside, and Duke on the board first. It's the sophomore star, Charles Balsamo.
And right on cue, talking about Chaminade, and there's the Chaminade boy getting involved on the offense today. 5'8", a bit of a smaller attacker. He plays from the midfield line. Really special player, 20 goals in his freshman season. Had a goal against Bellarmine. Really, really good showcase from him this season. There's the replay. High bouncer, gets over and reaching towards the bottom of the cage, and great shot placement.
Balsamo, first goal of the year, had an assist last weekend in that 20-12 victory over Bellarmine, but that game a lot less close than the score indicates. And Duke, Forsoli looking to corral the faceoff. Once again, High Point coming away with it. Well, you figure if High Point has a chance today, they'll have to stay afloat at the faceoff X as another yard sale, and Forsoli scoops it off the turf. Well, Mike, taking a look at this High Point team, they returned 5 starters from a season ago, but we mentioned it off the top. Their 2 top point scorers in Jack Van Overbeck and Braden Maillet return. They fuel this very selfless offense.
They're the 1-2 punch that coaches seek to have on their roster. Braden Maillet, an exceptional presence on the crease. He's really progressed himself as a Dodger outside the hashes. And when you talk about Jack Van Overbeck, it's hard not to put him in that category of one of the best players in the nation. His fluidity and control with the stick is what makes him one of the best here in the A-10.
Colin Cook looking to dodge inside, has a shot and the flag flies, presumably against Duke as they come back to this.
Yeah, this is going to be High Point's first man-up opportunity. Duke's EMO defense, they like to run 5 men out. They really like to press out on the perimeter and put pressure on your midfielders. So High Point has a lot of inside scores in Isaiah Morin Weeks, in Braden Maillet, and you'll see the penalty there. An obvious check on the helmet. It's going to get the flag thrown 10 times out of 10.
Flag against the short stick, Aiden McGuire. High Point last weekend, 2 of 3 on man-up opportunities. They'll be in that scenario for the next 30 seconds. An extra man offense that was up and down a season ago. They ranked towards the bottom of Division I in man-up percentage. Here's Maillet. They look inside. Low bouncer. It'll be backed up by Nick Rizzo. The shot coming from Matt Lutzel, the sophomore.
That was a really creative play to try to get the defense caught offside with the fake pass to Maillet.
And High Point stings the corners. Nick Murphy with his first tally of the afternoon.
Nick Murphy was the first goal scorer for the High Point Panthers in their Mercer game, and he gets the first goal here today. Great shot placement from him, putting that ball low and away. Almost an impossible save for the Duke goalie there. Great job from Nick Murphy, a guy who is a man-up master, and this year you're going to see him come in on that first midfield line. Really progressed as a Dodger this season, but he gets a man-up goal there.
Murphy, a goal and an assist last weekend. That's his second goal of the year. Looking in cage for Duke. Moments ago, that was Patrick Jameson's first bit of action. This is a Duke team juggling 3 different keepers as they look to decide their true starter. High Point now 3 of 3 at the X to begin the afternoon. And we spoke to John Danowski, longtime Duke head coach, about his goalkeepers. William Helm is currently slated as the 3rd stringer, the man who led them to the Final Four a season ago. Meehan dodges inside, and High Point in front.
Tommy Meehan getting on the board. High Point Panthers with their first lead of the day. Great job from Meehan, understanding his matchup, moving down the alley with incredible speed, and finishes over the top. Great shot from Tommy Meehan, even better control for the redshirt junior.
Well, how about this from High Point? 3 of 3 at the faceoff X. They overcome the early Balsamo goal, and they're in control.
They are incredibly well coached with the staff that they have, and you see Tommy Meehan, 3rd goal this season, already making an ample impact. Injuries scattered throughout his career here at High Point, but finally healthy. He's one of those players that Coach John Torpy talked about. Immensely happy to have him back.
Himself, Colin Cook, and a few others returning from season-ending injuries that cost them the bulk of 2023. Duke looking for the retort, and there's the first test pass by Overend on the snipe.
And he's going to have to do that all day long. Duke loves to get out early on offense, off of transition. They let their poles dive towards the cage. They'll let their short stick middies as well. So they're very confident offensively in their defensive unit.
Well, Zach Overend, a sophomore out of Annapolis, Maryland, a lacrosse hotbed right around the U.S. Naval Academy, opting to go to High Point. He's got big shoes to fill. Parker Green, a 4-year starter for this Panthers program, but clearly has imparted quite a bit on Overend. He looks great to begin the day.
Well, the tenure of goalies at High Point after Parker Green, Timmy Troutner Jr., Parker Green, Timmy Troutner is an immense leader and representative of the goalie position to learn from, an immense leader and teacher for Parker Green, and now Zach Overend gets his opportunity early in his sophomore season.
Van Overback at X. Slings to the top. Lutzel with a snipe. And out of his cage to claim is Jamison for his first save of the day, but some issues in the clear. It looks like they'll call a push against Kenny Brower.
Kenny Brower is one of those old school Long Island guys. He loves to play physical. Played at Massapequa, then transferred over, played at Kellenberg, then transferred over to Massapequa to play his high school ball. An exceptional defenseman, first team all ACC, wants to get out on your hands, really aggressive, but you can beat him topside, and that's why you have the matchup of Jack Van Overback and Kenny Brower today.
He's the preseason defenseman of the year in the ACC. Ryan Hines draws the slide. Maillet still looking for separation against the sophomore Henry Bard. Morin Weeks gets the pick, and they'll call an illegal pick against Braden Maillet. Possession going back to Duke.
Braden Maillet and Isaiah Morin Weeks in tandem there. Called on an illegal screen from Braden Maillet. Both of those guys are exceptional box lacrosse players, and obviously sometimes you get a little confused between the rules of both sports. Very similar, but a lot close quarters. You understand why Braden Maillet is just a prolific influence on the crease inside. He just finishes every single shot that he puts towards the cage.
Duke still looking to get their offense going. Barely any touches for O'Neal. Right on the doorstep, and Dyson Williams finishes. So Duke leveling it up right as we say their offense was struggling to get uncorked.
That's about as smooth as a finish you're going to see from a cutting attackman, and you'll see on the replay he finishes opposite hand, conjuncting his hands across his body, able to finish. Overend gets caught looking down, low and away. Easy goal for Dyson Williams.
Well, Williams led this team in goals a season ago, Mike, with 67 came against High Point. That is his 16th goal of his career against the Panthers.
An unbelievable score throughout the ACC and the entirety of the NCAA. It's his 5th goal this season. He's a big problem for opposing defenses, and he catches you off ball lacking. It's going to be a long day.
One of the best cutters on this Duke team, and you mentioned so physical right around the crease. Talking to John Danowski, he said he's hoping Dyson Williams, Brennan O'Neal, and Josh Zawada can establish some of that 3-man chemistry to make this offense hit its full potential. As we say that, O'Neal to Williams, and Duke back in front.
It's hard to outrun really good ball movement, and the Duke Blue Devils showcase some exceptional ball movement there. Passes on the sticks, another easy finish for Dyson Williams on the near post.
Well, change at the face-off X as well. Now Luca Accardo, the sophomore out of Long Island, New York, getting his first reps at the X. If you're just joining us, a goal-heavy first quarter. It's been back and forth. High Point led this one 2-1. Duke has reeled off the last 2 through Dyson Williams. Here's Jack Gray, one of the premier short sticks in America.
He's a guy that you absolutely have full trust in when he carries that ball over the midfield line. May not necessarily be able to dodge with the best of them like Andrew McAdory and Charles Balsamo from up top, but when he gets a burst of speed in transition, it's hard to stop that freight train.
Slusher, the Princeton transfer. In an interchange with Zawada, over and drawn out of cage momentarily. Josh Zawada around goal line extended. Slusher on the wraparound. comes loose to Aiden Denenza, one of these key grad students who has mentored so many youngsters in midfield. Zawada from X over and gets a piece of it. And finally popped loose by the Panthers. Henry Mudlaff. What a stand there from High Point.
A lot of commotion defensively. You saw Zach Overend come out of the cage. He was the third slide on Dyson Williams. A really good job to get out of the cage, play aggressive defensively. High Point is going to have their 2-slide ready to go early and often. Tyler Barrett got beat there by Josh Zawada. Obviously, Overend was able to back up that shot, but you can't let stuff like that happen. That 2-slide has to be ready to go. That hot man is going to be sliding like crazy today.
We spoke about it pre-game. You were talking about how the slide has to be perfectly timed, especially against O'Neal, who will take any inch of space a mile. Nick Rizzo looking for real estate around goal line extended. He's looking inside. A well-timed interception from Cole Krause. Transitional affair so far. Quick tic-tac-toe, and Duke with their third unanswered. Jake Caputo, the short stick. Duke on a 3-0 run.
Jake Caputo there, the short stick D-mid. Getting a goal early. They love that transition. Offense flowing through the midfield line, and there it is.
Well, back here from Vert Stadium, where Duke is on a 3-0 run. It's a Duke team that has won 10 of the 11 meetings between High Point and the Blue Devils. But back on February 6th of 2019, some interesting statistical similarities to then as we look at today. Both times Duke ranked second in the country, and both times the goaltender for High Point from St. Mary's High School in Maryland.
St. Mary's High School, another one of those hot spot high schools that is able to translate their exceptional high school lacrosse players to the Division I level. Timmy Troutner, one of those, and now Zach Overend, another one of those players at the Division I level, taking over in net. This opportunity for him here today in his second career start against number 2 Duke. There's a lot of history to be written here at Vert Stadium.
Well, they'll have to turn it in a hurry because Duke is on a 3-0 spurt. Dyson Williams and Brennan O'Neal have started to take over this game. Here is O'Neal. Flag flies, they'll send it back to High Point. Well, back in 2019, that was a 13-9 victory for the Panthers in Durham. They have never beaten Duke at Vert Stadium, but this is one of the better High Point teams we've seen in recent memory under John Torpy.
A team that is showcasing a lot of players that are coming off injury. Jackson Clay being one of those players coming off the wing is a crucial part of this ground ball game, especially when you have Jake Naso on the field, someone who is capable of picking up 11, 12 ground balls a game and winning the faceoff to himself, pushing transition offensively. High Point doing a really good job shutting that down.
Cook gets inside. Jamison is level to it and will usher over to his defender as Duke looks to clear. Jamison some early nerves, but he saved the last 3 shots his way.
A couple bad exchanges in the clear game as you see High Point's ride doing a really good job there, forcing him back over the midfield line.
An active ride for High Point.
A very active ride, and it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum for Duke. You won't see them be very aggressive in their ride, but High Point, Braden Maye is someone who averaged over a caused turnover a game heading into conference play last year, so he is someone who is overly aggressive on the ride and makes it count.
Ben Johnston gets on the board for Duke, the 4th-ranked freshman in the Power 100.
And that's what Duke does. They just get all these top 100 recruits. He was number 4 on that freshman top 100 list that Inside Lacrosse posted, and we talked about it before the game. He is one player that loves to come across his body. He is an exceptional shooter on the run, and you see it there. Ben Johnson getting a goal here today.
A freshman, product of prestigious Avon Old Farm School, one of the better lacrosse programs in the Northeast. Just a big body who has transitioned very nicely to the college game.
His combination of size and speed and the way he moves across the middle of the field is frankly unheard of when you look at the NCAA Division I lacrosse world. And Duke just gets all these tremendous recruits, and you look through the lineage. Brennan O'Neill, #1 recruit, comes into Duke and really has made his name a staple and household name in NCAA lacrosse.
This is the freshman Justin Wickstead. Speaking of recruits with high expectations, he's one of those for High Point.
A really amazing story. Coach Torpy almost changed highways.
He does get inside. He's on the edge of the crease as the flag flies. Goal is good, and Panthers break the drought.
Goal call officially good, and there it is for Justin Wickstead, his first goal of the career, and right on cue. Coach Torpy fell absolutely in love with him. The way his aggression with the ball, he is unafraid of contact. He wanted that first career goal. You saw it against Mercer. His first shot attempt was actually a crease dive. So this kid can play, and he came so to do here today.
His first career goal, you were mentioning that story. We spoke to John Torpy yesterday, and Coach Torpy said he hadn't heard of Justin Wickstead until at a 2-day tournament, his offensive coordinator, Kenny Brochart, saw him in action and said, hey, Coach, you got to get over and watch this kid play. Coach Torpy changed highways to go to Philadelphia. He fell in love immediately with his game.
He's a shifty, creative player when it comes to about 3 to 5 yards above goal line extended. An amazing finish from the freshman, and he's only going to get better as his career progresses here at High Point.
Well, timeout taken on the field. There was a flag that flew in right after Wickstead put it in the back of the cage, so still waiting on the official ruling there as the officials converse with John Torpy. In his 12th season, he has built this High Point program from the ground up, has taken them to 2 NCAA tournaments, and last season, Mike, a game away from a 3rd appearance. As to what transpired. For those just joining us, Justin Wickstead scored his first career goal. A flag came in after the goal was ruled good. Just trying to determine what the penalty is and who it's on.
I'm curious to see if they were going to put it on the offense. He might have stepped in the crease before that shot went off, but they might have put it on Cole Krause here, pushing him into the crease. It could really go either way here, but it's looking like they gave the goal, so they're going to probably put it onto the defense. 1 minute penalty, and you see there up on the board, it's going to be awarded to Jake Naso.
So Naso, 1 minute in the box. High Point a man up for what will now be the second time today
in the contest.
Well, Jace Naso back in the circle, the X once again for Duke. We mentioned 19 of 23 from the faceoff X. He was named ACC Defensive Player of the Week once again for his troubles.
And he didn't even take a single faceoff in the entirety of the fall. He played midfield, and they wanted to work on his stick skills and his presence as an offensive midfielder on the field, because now with the knee up, offense is a big part of the game for these face-off guys. You got to fight for the ground balls, and you're going to be able to push transition. See Colin Holtman getting a easy pinch and pop going out his 3rd exit there, but they've done a really good job against Jake Naso. They've fabricated a plan to play against him. He is exceptional on the ground. His hands are quick, but High Point doing a good job today.
So prolonged delay. We didn't see a challenge flag fly, but they ultimately ruled the goal good. There was no timeout taken from Duke, so presumably nothing issued from John Danowski there. Video review, of course, added to the game of college lacrosse this year. Took till 2024, but here we are. Skip pass over to Murphy. Looking on the doorstep to Rizzo. Ball flies a little high as Duke looks to kill the rest of this man down.
And that's would have been a quick stick goal for Rizzo. Vano just pushing that ball a little too high above the plane. Rizzo unable to get his eyes on it. Would have been a really nice finish on that man-up opportunity for High Point.
Cole Krause is waiting to re-enter. Just 5 seconds left on this man-up. Duke will clear in the most circuitous of fashions. O'Neill scoops it off the deck. A fun one in front of a sellout crowd at Vert Stadium. We expected a big turnout. Fans have not disappointed. Duke looking to rocket right back after the prolonged stoppage. Here's McAdory. Can't quite get his hands free. Solid defending by Joy. Here's O'Neal. Down the alley. O'Neal! His first of the day. A snipe from the Tewaaraton winner.
An unbelievable goal from Brennan O'Neal. Helps them boost their lead to 3. Had the mismatch. Loves that spot on the near wing. I mean, he just has some of the quickest stick skills in the entirety of Division I. In the entirety of the ACC. He's just one of the best players in all of lacrosse, the LeBron, as we were talking about, of lacrosse.
The #1 recruit coming out of high school. He was dubbed the Zion Williamson of college lacrosse after leading the U.S. men's national team to a world championship this summer and winning the Most Outstanding Player award. I think it's fair to anoint him the LeBron James of college lacrosse. Here he is once again around goal line extended. A goal and an assist to his name already today. We spoke to John Danowski about Brennan O'Neal. He says, naturally you wonder with the #1 recruit, does he have the hunger? He certainly does, and he's the ultimate team first guy as well. As Denenza is stripped, Duke recovers. O'Neal. Once again, a 3rd point here in the first quarter.
A nice crease crank from Brennan O'Neal. Duke taking advantage of that ball on the ground. Brennan O'Neal doing a great job on offense today. He gets his 2nd goal of the day here at Vert Stadium. Helps boost this lead to 4 goals for Duke, and he is, again, one of the best players in all of NCAA lacrosse.
And an accomplished season at that as well last season, Mike. Won the Tewaaraton winner and was the nation's leader in points.
97 points in the entirety of his season last year. An exceptional scorer and dodger.
Duke will once again secure the face-off. Naso is still on the field. Final 30 seconds of this opening quarter of play. Back and forth early, but the last 8 minutes or so have been dominated by the Blue Devils. Zawada. Dancing around the crease. Gets his hands free, and Duke is on a tear.
Really exceptional goal from Josh Zawada. Got his defenseman's feet in the back of that netting behind X. Taking advantage of his exceptional footwork. Really great job getting topside, about 3 yards above goal line extended on Jacob Joy. He's an amazing offensive player who's really starting to find his footing with the Blue Devils offense.
John Danowski said he brought in Zawada hoping for him to be the point guard of the offense. We want him to drive, we want him to feed, and we want him to do a little bit of everything. He's done that today with a goal and an assist, and Duke enters the end of the first quarter with an 8-3 advantage. All Blue Devils here from Vert.
Approach, he didn't get his feet set, and Brennan O'Neal took full advantage of that, riding down this far right alley and scoring.
John Danowski says he's also one of the nicest, most genuine human beings on the planet. Somebody who doesn't gloat in his success. In fact, mostly deflects it and shares it with his teammates. He's got the Tewaaraton trophy sitting in his bedroom, but not on prominent display. It's on top of a cabinet. Vanover back at X as High Point looks to stem the tide of this Duke dominance towards the end of the first.
Honestly, I wouldn't expect anything less from a lacrosse player, just putting it up on their shelf. Nothing special.
Is that what you would do with it?
Yeah, probably. It would collect dust somewhere. I mean, it wouldn't be out and about.
Well, you went to Chaminade, so a rival high school at that. Off to the top, Tommy Meehan with a strike. 2nd goal today.
Number 2 for Tommy Meehan as he helps shut down that run that Duke was on offensively. Watch the replay here. Gets some contact, eats the contact. He was a former Division I football recruit So he's a heck of an athlete. His ability to showcase his athleticism on the field is on full display today.
We mentioned missed all of last season due to injury. Spent fall ball working his way back. How about this? His first 2 games as a regular starter, 2 goals a pop.
Great start for the season for him. It's one that you know that he's wanted to, he's known that he's been capable of doing this. Injuries, obviously, putting a damper in those plans, but now healthy, really making an impact.
A redshirt junior with a couple years of eligibility remaining. Still a scrap for the face-off, and Jacob Joy comes away with it for the Panthers.
And that's been a big problem for High Point, unable to get successful ground balls, get into open space. Jackson Clay does a good job right there, checking his perimeter, checking his surroundings to see if there was any attacking Blue Devil players. Gets it across the midfield line and gets a fresh 60 for High Point.
Jackson Clay, another one of those guys who returned from a season-ending injury, battled knee issues and concussion issues last year. Here's Colin Cook. Van Overback now at the point of attack. He's left his usual X location. Low bouncer, ricochets off the pipe. It will be backed up by High Point.
2 goals in their last outing for Van Overback off of 11 shots. So he obviously is going to want to get his shots on the cage a heck of a lot more today. He's going to want to be a lot more accurate than he was versus Mercer. 2 goals off 11 shots is not a stat line you want to see.
Clay gets his hands free, slings it over the pipe. Wickstead keeps it with the Panthers. And Clay seems to be coming off worse for wear as well. Well, the last sight you want to see if you're a High Point fan, a player who's worked so hard to get back on the field.
Home Depot to go buy a shovel or a sled? Sign me up.
I'm with you on that. I don't think I've shoveled snow since I was 5.
Let's keep it that way.
High Point restarts. Cook gets free, tries the bouncer. Jamison starting to settle in nicely. Doesn't have the longest leash today, but I think he's earned himself more time in cage.
And he only played till the 3rd quarter in their first outing, and he only had 4 saves, so didn't necessarily see a lot of shots. And wow, what a check there from Aiden McGuire.
Hines lit up, but will clean up his own mess.
These short stick defensive midfielders for the Duke Blue Devils are immensely aggressive, and that check was about as accurate as you're going to get with a short stick.
We were speaking about it. They're specialists in general for Duke. Both two-way, love to push and transition, but they are not afraid to put a check in the mix as well.
They don't really slide on defense. They are so confident in that one-on-one matchup that they could guard, they go down at X and guard an attack bin, that their footwork is so stout and so in control. I think if you put a pole in any of these short stick defensive midfielders' hand, he'd be another problem at the LSM position.
High Point enjoying their most prolonged spurt of possession. Here's Maye. Has some space. He stood up ultimately by Wilfer Soley. As a pole broke on the play. Missed opportunity for High Point. Someone's going to have to do some equipment surgery on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's just a screw and screwdriver. It happens all the time. It happened to me fair too many times. And you have probably like 3 to 4 backup sticks when you play Division I lacrosse. I think I had 5.
You go to Home Depot to install that?
No. I think I did that myself.
Here's O'Neal at Eggs. Looking inside. O'Neal off the carpet. Looking for Williams. Pass deflected. Sent back to High Point.
High Point, really good job defensively. They slid with authority, turned the ball over there, but they've got to complete that part of the game, collecting the ground ball, getting in their set clear as they are right now. You haven't seen High Point necessarily form into a prominent clear like they have in a risky pass into the midfield. You never want to do that on the clear.
High Point team that's usually so steady in the clear as well.
The middle of the field's open, it's still not open. It's the riskiest part of the field. Sometimes the easiest catches become the hardest passes to acquire. Mudlaff unable to collect that one. Turnover, Duke in their set offense.
It's felt like a game for the short sticks today. Haven't seen many moments for the Poles. Denenza going to work on Ian Clay, the freshman. O'Neal looking for McAdory. There's a flag down. Looks to be against High Point.
It's Duke's first man-up opportunity here. You'll see Dyson Williams and Brennan O'Neal up at the top of the box, and they like to cut hard towards the cage, so watch out for Dyson Williams to try to finish here. Close inside, searching for a hat trick here at Vert Stadium.
Ian Can was offsides. Duke was 2 of 4 last weekend against Bellarmine in man-up situations.
It's a tough mistake that the freshman made, not understanding the personnel on the field. Obviously, the commotions of this game, you're playing number 2 Duke, but you get asked to go on the field. You want to be able to do your job, and a costly mistake from the freshman to give Duke an opportunity.
Around the horn to Zawada. Here's Balsamo. Denenza's free, and Duke fires right back. Blue Devils by 5 once again.
There's Denenza. He gets his right hand free. Super strong physical dodger. But when he gets to set his feet, plant, and shoot, he's going to finish, and he does there. An exceptional shot. He's got a ripper right over the top, puts it down low. They have been hunting Zach Overend down low today. Obviously, a successful shot, and Denenza fires that one home.
A senior who enjoyed a breakout campaign last season, scored in each championship weekend contest. There is his second of the year for the Blue Devils. Just so much depth across the attacking area, be it in attack, in midfield, so many options for John Danowski's bunch.
You have Alex Slusher on your third midfield line. He's somebody who is capable of scoring a hat trick every single game. The depth that this Duke team has, especially on their wings as well. You get Jake Naso, someone who could win 100% of the faceoffs pretty realistically if you get the certain matchup. But obviously High Point, once again, doing a really good job guarding, countering, and putting in a plan to take that big part of Duke's game out of today.
To your point, Slusher dropped 56 points as a junior before a slower senior season with the Tigers. Maye draws the slide, hands free. A little high, but backed up by Wickstead. Still looking to get Braden Maye going. He's trying to find the target, it seems. Had 4 goals and an assist last Saturday. Here's the man who's fueled the offense in Meehan. Maye, swim move. He's free, tight angle. Jamison clamps down.
Great effort right there from Braden Maye, about a yard above goal line extended, tries to finish inside, unable to finish that no-angle shot, but he is a guy who has that shot in his arsenal. Played box lacrosse before he came over to High Point. Didn't touch field lacrosse before he stepped onto campus here at High Point University. So to see his progression as an athlete, as an attacker, and you see him dodging from the wings now, putting his stick in his opposite hand, that's something that we weren't too sure about seeing Braden Maye do as he came to High Point as a freshman.
Right off the pipe from Williams. Tell you what, this Duke team has so many players who can paint the corners. O'Neal matched up against Brenflick. That's been the go-to all day. Denenza already with 1. Slings that one on the run. It's backed up by Williams. Shot clock approaching 30. Zawada to the top for Denenza. Papendek will keep it with Duke. Williams is free. Creeping a little too close to the crease.
Too many second chance opportunities that Duke's getting right now. This defense needs to get on the ground and hunt some ground balls.
Just 5 to shoot for Duke. Zawada feeds it across. Dyson Williams in the crease. Looked like he beat the shot clock, but his feet landed in that transgression zone.
What a great goal from Josh Zawada, diving into the crease.
And it will stand for Duke.
Exceptional goal right there from Zawada. Great effort from Overend to try to make the save, coming across his body. Just an amazing transfer to come over and perform on this Duke offense. Josh Zawada, really, really good showcase today.
They are reviewing the goal to see if it stands. On the field, it was called a goal for Duke. But, of course, Dyson Williams right around the crease, so question marks as to whether that one will stand. What were your early impressions of that last play?
Obviously, it looked like, and you see Coach Torpy throwing the challenge flag there, his second challenge of the entire season. High Point, they might have seen him step in the crease there. I'm not too sure. We'll have to take a look at the replay, but it was a really aggressive take from Josh Zawada, obviously understanding that the shot clock was under 10 and you needed to get a shot off there. Duke is always aggressive within that last 10 seconds. Any team is going to be overly aggressive within that last 10 seconds of the shot clock. So Torpy threw out a challenge flag. Not sure that goal is going to stand, but here's the replay.
To me, it looked like he landed awfully close.
If he's in the inner crease, we'll see here one more time.
If he falls in the goal mouth, that's an immediate indication.
Right, immediate indication right in the goal mouth. So we wait for the replay.
Does it look like his elbow touches?
I think there might not be enough evidence for them to. His hands fell right into that goal mouth. It's going to be an interesting call for sure, what they're going to go with on the field. I'm really liking this replay. I think now the challenge flag, it really offers a lot of stability to the game. And obviously we saw replay being introduced after Maryland went into the Final Four after one goal that did not count. So this being put into place this season is obviously very influential for the game. It's the next step in advancing this game and putting it more into the national spotlight.
Duke's had their fair share of questionable crease calls. Garrett Ledman in the Final Four against Penn State comes to mind. For those wondering, a new rule, coaches can challenge if a player fell in the crease. There's video review now for a slew of different scenarios, this being one of them.
Definitely interesting decision here to see what they're going to go with. Looks like there could be enough evidence to take away the goal, and they're going to do so.
It looked like to the naked eye, Williams was in the crease. Excellent work by the officials. John Torpy is now 2 of 2 on challenges this season.
It's a great way to start the season if you're Coach John Torpy, especially with this new rule. A lot of the times coaches like to say that they see things differently than the refs on the field, and in that case, Coach John Torpy does. Just a nice proper way to argue with the ref.
Throw your challenge flag.
Yep.
He'll retain it as well. They aren't forced to use a timeout. They have up to 2 challenges a game, and they retain that after it being successful. Still a 5-goal affair between the second-ranked Blue Devils and the High Point Panthers. Brennan O'Neill the standout with 2 goals and an assist to his name. Tommy Meehan with a pair of tallies himself for High Point. We were talking about it this week leading into this game. Of course, Duke goes to the national championship on a questionable overtime goal in which Garrett Ledman fell in the crease. And then in the national championship game, coming up just 4 goals short against Notre Dame, Van Overback lashes at it. Wickstead backs it up. That Duke team was #1 in the nation for a good chunk of last season. The ACC running the college lacrosse world once again. And Notre Dame had their number twice in that 2023 campaign.
Yeah, the Irish, what they have in store this season with the players that they have coming back. Liam Entenmann, obviously, in net is a talent that, and a communicator on the field that is so special for that Notre Dame defense. You get Eric Dobson up in the midfield line. The Kavanaugh brothers, they're back. Pat's healthy. It's going to be a really nice season.
Van Overbeck tries from afar. No real issues for Jamison between the pipes. Kraus in trouble trying to clear, and it's popped loose by Maye in the ride. There's that tenacity.
Finally able to collect the ground ball off a turnover, caused turnover by High Point. Braden Maye, the guy to get it started for High Point. Searching for some offense for him. Timeout called on the field. We're going to just have to wait.
High Point takes their first timeout here in the first half. Prefer to shoot, and he says, from now on, I want an attacker coaching my goalies because they have just different insight.
And when you have one of the best shooters in the entire country shooting on your goalies on a daily basis, they are going to be able to play against a team like Duke and understand those type of shots that are coming out of Brennan O'Neal's stick, that are coming out of Andrew McAdory's stick. Their shots are so different. They're so unique to the game, especially Brennan's.
High Point coming out of the timeout in need of a goal to kickstart a run. Duke has seized control. Cook downhill, rings the pipe, flag flies. Waiting for official words from the refs, but High Point celebrating like they've tallied one.
Yeah, they're going to call that one a goal there. He got pushed on the backside, no doubt about it. Caputo pushed him right into the crease. Great control with his left hand from Colin Cook. He finished there against Mercer. Inside a pass from Braden Maye. And there's Colin Cook, another guy coming off injuries throughout his season. Exceptional stamina that young man has. A really, really great force coming off that midfield line. And you see the replay one more time. Great job from Colin Cook, New Jersey native.
Yeah, you mentioned it. That is textbook pushing violation on Jake Caputo. Refs will indicate like they want to review it, though. And for those wondering, the rule is if pushing you causes you to fall in the crease, the goal still stands. So it seems the question here is goal mouth related or whether Cook would have been in the crease anyways.
It wouldn't fall under the restraints of the goal mouth in this situation. Caputo obviously pushed him, and they're just probably going into that booth to solidify that.
A lot of reviews here early in this first half. Mike, let's take another look.
He slid right. It's tough to assess. It's tough to assess it, especially when it's moving so slow. Obviously, now it looks like the push that Caputo put on Cook wasn't necessarily. It looked more like a flap now that he pushed him on the backside. But I'm curious as to what
the goal stands.
The goal stands. Yeah, it's obvious. I guess in full speed that Caputo pushing him into the goal mouth. Goal stands. Great control from Colin Cook. He gets on the board.
Mike, I know review is a good thing generally for the sport, but do you feel those prolonged breaks stymie momentum? High Point just scored, an opportunity to build some streaks here. Now you have to go and wait for a review to uphold your goal.
Without a doubt, there's negatives to everything, and obviously it puts a damper in momentum on the field. It poses a lot of different tasks on the field for the players, and obviously coming out of that goal counts. So the momentum is still there, but obviously you wanted to get that goal, get right back on the field, and try to replicate it once more.
Naso and Hoban has been the battle all day at the X. It's borderline even with High Point having a slight advantage. And a procedural violation against O'Neal will send it back to the Panthers. Clearly the review wasn't long enough to stop the momentum. And Clay is back on the field now for High Point.
He's got a bit of a tape around that left knee. Great to see him back on the field. An exceptional ground ball specialist that comes off the wing for High Point. Really good to have him back out.
Cook scored the most recent goal for High Point. Meehan, he's got 2 today. Runs into a brick wall, sticks with it, and finishes. And they'll rule it off. They'll call him for warding off. So as of now, the goal does not stand after a really impressive move from Tommy Meehan.
Yeah, he came down that alley at full speed, coming across the midfield here. See the, I don't know if that's a ward. He kind of just used his hand to spin around off that defenseman. Wasn't much of a push off that. They're going to review it one more time to see if that goal is going to count, but I don't know if that was a ward. He didn't use his hand to push off of that defenseman. You see them conversing about the call now.
I'll be honest, Mike, to the naked eye, it looked like just incidental contact. I mean, Krause was right in his way. The two just bump into each other, and Meehan finds himself free.
Usually an opportunity like that inside when Tommy Meehan just rolled pretty quietly off of that defenseman, and that's usually where you see that slide come in and a turnover transition going down the other way. But that doesn't come. He gets his stick free. He has the ability to shoot that shot, puts it across the cage. And I don't know, I think he scored there. I don't see a ward. I don't see him pushing off. I don't understand how that goal call could be called off here.
An eventful game so far, Mike, an eventful halftime in store as well from Vert Stadium. We'll be talking about all the preseason accolades, remembering the life of Sergeant James Reagan, and then, of course, taking a look at some of our stars over the course of these opening 30 minutes. Waiting for the referee's ruling. Tommy Meehan putting it in the back of the cage. It was called a ward, and it seems they will stick with that initial decision. They will restart with Cook. Goal does not stand for Meehan. Questionable, but Duke off the hook for the moment. Cook at X. Fun opening 30 minutes here from Vert Stadium, one of the premier non-conference North Carolina matchups on the docket here in 2024. Both these teams scheduling so assertively. It's the first of 3 ACC opponents on a High Point schedule. Wickstead looking for Rizzo, leaves it a bit long. Frasoli scoops it off the turf and starts the transition. Meehan picks his pocket.
What a job from Tommy Meehan right now. He's the fire starter for this High Point team right now. They want to build a comeback. You get the ball in Tommy Meehan's stick.
Interesting alteration for John Torpy. He's moved Jack Van Overback off X. Do you like that decision?
I think it's an interesting decision to throw Jack Van Overback here up top, playing in more of a midfield position, but it offers him the opportunity to get a short stick matchup more times than he would at X.
Hines slings it to Rizzo. The only preseason all-conference honoree in the A-10. Morin Weeks is free. Jamison gets his stick in the mix and then clamps down.
Isaiah Morin Weeks will always go tough to the goal. He's just got to be able to finish that one. Another box-to-cross player, very experienced on the inside, on the high crease, a couple of yards above goal line extended. Really good stick skills from him, just unable to finish it. Another really good save from the freshman goalie that Duke has in net now.
What have your thoughts been on Jamison's day so far?
Jamison doing a really good job. I mean, Duke just first time that they've had a freshman starting goal since 2010, so obviously a lot of weight on his shoulders, but he's doing a really good job against High Point.
McAdory finds O'Neal. Great stop from Overend. Good omen. First freshman goalkeeper since 2010. That, of course, the year Duke wins 6-5 in overtime for their first national championship against Notre Dame. But the cage has been a question mark for Duke the last couple seasons.
Well, you lose Bonafide in net for Duke, obviously someone who was a perennial starter for the Blue Devils. Another Chaminade guy comes to Duke, has an exceptional career, and then since leaving, it's been a big hole in net for Duke.
McAdory gets topside and rings the pipe. John Adams will secure the ground ball for the Panthers. numbers for High Point. And in the final minute of this first half, it has been a fun and intriguing battle, one in which Duke has had the edge for the bulk of the afternoon, but the Panthers have hung around. High Point can run it all the way down if they so choose.
Shot clock not a factor here. Great job from Ryan Hines identifying the short stick matchup. He's had a quiet start to the season. Another player that is up and coming on this Panthers roster.
Hines against Aiden McGuire into the final 30 seconds.
Is that Brennan O'Neill on defense?
That it is. He'll draw the matchup on McGuire still. Was looking to get O'Neill. Skips to the top. Van Overback. Hands free. Low bouncer. Jamison scoops it. That'll do it for the first half. Duke's been in control, but High Point has definitely held their own mic. It sets the stage for an interesting second.
Tommy Meehan, one of those guys for High Point right now, really charging the fire for them as they head into halftime. A lot to be spoken about for the Panthers as they head into the locker room, but they are holding their own here at Vert Stadium.
High Point leads by 4 in a battle here in North Carolina. Nick Murphy, a key piece of that first half. Tommy Meehan, pacing all Panthers with 2 goals apiece. And Mike, we touched on how High Point should potentially have an opportunity to be closer than 4 goals. They've got an edge in the shot battle right now.
High Point doing a really good job on offense, getting their shots on goal, but this freshman goalie really standing tall and making his appearance felt. You look, Star Watch, Braden Maillet and Brennan O'Neill, 2 star attackers for both of these squads, 4 goals apiece for both of them in their first game, 7 points for Brennan, 5 for Maillet. 2 different players attack-wise, but when it comes to their value and their impact on the field, it's for both of them pretty near the same.
Well, when you look at the point comparison, it is 2 goals and 2 assists for Maillet. Just 1 point all afternoon. 1 point all afternoon for Maillet. 2 goals and 2 assists for O'Neill. So O'Neill certainly having the upper hand in that matchup. Naso was 8 of 16 in the first half from the face-off X. Colin Hoban now moves to 7 and 14 himself. Quickly on the run, and Jamison scoops it low to prevent an early stunner from the Panthers here in the second half.
Quick early shot from Colin Hoban out in the winding couple seconds of this second half. Not necessarily what Coach John Torpy would have wanted. You probably want to get it to an ex-attackman and settle into your offense. Look for some feeders, some guys cutting across. Try to catch this Duke defense lacking, generate some momentum. But right now, Duke has an opportunity to help increase this lead that they built in the first half.
High Point had an opportunity to trim it right before the break. Had a goal reel taken off for warding off by Tommy Meehan. O'Neill's hands are free, and he'll sling high there, but that kid has a cannon wherever he shoots.
There is not a spot on this lacrosse field that is a shot that is a weakness in his arsenal. I think about every shot that he takes.
McAdory top side. Williams denied on the crease. The follow-up goes for Duke. It's Ben Johnston's second of the day. And speaking of cannons, how about that from the freshman?
Great job from Charles Balsamo, keeping his head up after that rebound off that shot. Found an open man in Ben Johnston, and he just fires that one. Set feet shooter, exceptionally physical midfielder, super young guy making his name heard here at Vert.
Ben Johnston, between last December and now, put on 20 pounds of muscle. He now stands at 6'1", 220. He's got 2 goals today, had 1 in his college debut as well last week.
That's another thing when you scan through this Duke roster. Just about every single one of these guys is about 5'11", 6 foot and above. They're a very big physical team, and their whole entire sideline is a massive form of sea of blue. They've got a lot of exceptional talent on that side.
And Mike, Duke is known for recruiting those big midfielders who they can develop skills for. These guys come in with intangibles, strength, an ability to shoot, and then John Danowski and company do the rest to develop them into fine offensive players. Leaping shot there from the Panthers. It is backed up after Dementos shoots long.
There's Ben Demento getting some of his first minutes. Another guy who has experienced a fair share of injuries. Great spot-up shooter.
Meehan looking for a third. Jamison has been so secure since that first quarter of action.
Whatever was said at halftime to him, especially this defensive front, you got a guy like Kenny Brower helping solidify the defense.
O'Neal, he's free. Goal line extended, Dyson Williams. Quick 2 goals for Duke to begin the third.
The shot selection from Dyson Williams. He dropped his hands right before the shot. Got Chris O'Grady, which there's a goalie change in net for High Point, with Chris O'Grady stepping in to this game at half. Just another amazing spot-up shot from Dyson Williams. Drops his hands, gets the goalie to go low, and finishes top left.
Another hat trick for Dyson Williams, back-to-back to begin his season. Has now scored 18 goals in 6 career meetings with the Panthers. Chris O'Grady, as you mentioned, in cage. John Torpy said he'd be willing to go to him if scenarios suggested he should. Williams, once again on goal line extended. O'Grady tracks it perfectly.
Great job from O'Grady, recognizing that this Duke offense wants to go 5-hole. They want to shoot the ball low. And they made that adjustment at halftime in net. O'Grady so far doing a great job on those low shots.
Here's Denenza. Zawada, tic-tac-toe, Dyson Williams the beneficiary. Chris O'Grady's been shelled to begin his afternoon.
Not how you want to start the third quarter defensively if you're High Point, but offensively, it's been an amazing showcase from this Duke offense. Too many scorers to count, too many superstars. And there it is, Dyson Williams, who had his career best game, 7 goals against High Point, and he is just adding to the tally once more with that one.
Now 4 goals on the day for Williams. Chris O'Grady, a junior out of Radnor, Pennsylvania. Slight rude awakening to begin his 2023 season.
It's a great face-off win from Luca Accardo there. They have been battling tough all day with Jake Naso. A big positive that the Panthers are going to be able to take out of this game.
Question is, can they turn it into goals on the offensive side of things? Duke has held firm defensively, and in cage, the freshman Jamison has been more than capable, floating right around 9-10 saves. Meehan tests him, and there's another stop.
It's an easy popcorn save for Jamison. Shot that one right at his stick. All he had to do was make a simple step to his right. Easy save.
If you're just joining us, a game High Point at one point led 2-1. Duke stretched it out to 9-4. They've now got their largest advantage of the day. Here's Nick Rizzo. Van Overback, he's been moved away from X, still looking to make his impact felt.
Tries to go low and away there. Obviously, Jamison has been hunting those all game long. Steps up out of the cage a little bit to make that save. Low and away. Great shot selection, but an even better save from Jamison.
Dyson Williams has scored the last 2 for Duke. He now leads all scorers in this game with a quartet of goals.
And that was the 15th shot of the season for Jack Van Overback, and 2 goals to those 15 shots. Obviously, you want to see a player like him become much more accurate when it comes to hitting the cage. And that could steer the course of this game today if just some of those shots got put on cage.
O'Neal at the point of attack. He's got a freshman matchup with Ian Can. McAdory. Slings to the point. Ben Johnston runs into a thicket of defenders, and High Point struggling to clear once again. it has been loose passes that have really been their undoing so far. It's got to be so frustrating as a close defender as well, Mike, when you do all that work and then you're unable to clear that pressure, especially against a team as lethal as Duke.
And then you're on the field for another 60 seconds, another minute of stamina that you need to have. Wow.
Well, McAdory ensures it doesn't take a minute. 8-goal advantage now for Duke.
Wow. The control from McAdory, finding an opening, getting his hands free. Just another box lacrosse move. Amazing shot, low to high from Andrew McAdory. You don't see him score a lot inside. You see him coming out of the box, moving towards the middle of the field, running across his body. But he played attack last year, understands that role, and gets a goal here.
Had 36 goals and 25 assists a season ago. That's his 3rd goal of the season. He had 2 last weekend. Duke starts to control the face-off, X. If you're High Point, you start to feel it slipping away. Here's the slide. Zawada's free. Zawada scores.
And they're just peppering him on now.
Timeout, John Torpy. It is all Duke here to begin the 3rd, Mike.
And that's one of their plays right off a transition. They like to attack the defense, and they do so there. Zawada coming across the middle of the field, changing his position. X plays up at the high wing, now gets an opportunity at midfield and scores.
We're going to step aside here from Vert Stadium. Duke ripping off a 5-0 run to begin the 3rd. They lead by 9. Well, back here, underway in the 3rd quarter, where Duke is on a 5-0 run. They've extended their largest advantage of the day to 9, and once again winning the faceoff. Dyson Williams slowly taking over this ballgame with 4 goals. Here's Denenza. Hands free for O'Neal. O'Grady makes his first save of the afternoon. Here's Campbell Posen, the former Division III short stick D-Midi of the year in 2022, but a procedural violation sends it back to Duke. Mike, at the break, we were talking about how Duke has taken over this game. Dyson Williams has been the main impactful figure.
Dyson Williams having himself a day here at Vert Stadium. Obviously, that goalie change from Overend to O'Grady at halftime. Obviously, an interesting decision from the High Point coaching staff, but you see Zach Overend back out there, makes a great save. He's been comfortable all day long.
A short-lived stint for O'Grady. Played about 7 minutes. Zach Overend, who had a more steady first half, is back in the game. You've got to wonder, is it too late for High Point with the rate they've been scoring goals or lack thereof?
It's definitely going to be an interesting end to this game. Obviously, High Point's going to want to put some more numbers up. More than 5 goals definitely is a tally that they're going to surpass today, but I don't know if they have the amount of time left that they're going to need to make a comeback against the Blue Devils here, but they certainly have an opportunity to make it close.
Duke once again venturing into the attacking area. High Point has hardly had any real opportunities on Jamison's cage here in the second half. This is Alex Slusher, the Princeton transfer. You mentioned a third-line midfielder. It speaks to the depth and talent of this Duke team. Lost a few guys in the offseason, but they've reloaded and brought back their key contributors as well. Zawada, make it another. They're tripling up High Point.
And Josh Zawada from the top of the box gets that goal. Usually an ex-attackman really was forming into his role as a facilitator in their last time out. But he has done an exceptional job today as a scorer, getting on the board for a fair share of points.
Second straight game with a hat trick to begin his Duke tenure. And we mentioned off the top, Michigan's all-time leader in points, the only Wolverine to secure over 200 points in a college career in Ann Arbor. This game was 9-5 at halftime. In 9 minutes, Duke has scored 6 goals to begin the third.
We're seeing a lot more of this third midfield line out there now.
Slusher. Pressured heavily by the freshman long pole, Corey O'Connor. Rotated to O'Neal. Williams, goal line extended. Make it a 5-piece.
Once again, great ball movement from Duke. Gets the ball around the horn once and finds their amazing finisher in Dyson Williams. He gets on the board for this 5th goal of the game. He is slowly but surely creeping towards that 7 career goal mark. A guy who is capable of scoring 60 goals in a season. Led the nation in shooting percentage almost 2 years ago to the date. He is an amazing representative of what the attack position is in college lacrosse.
Last year, he scored the 7th most goals by a Duke player in a single season in program history. Now is in his 5th and final campaign. Was drafted first overall in the NLL in September. Hoban draws the flag. There's a pair on the turf as we speak. Maybe a man up is just what the doctor ordered for High Point. It's an interesting story on Dyson Williams. His father, an NLL Hall of Famer, and he wears the number 51 to continue his father's legacy. I'd say he's well on his way to a decorated professional career.
Number 1 overall NLL pick. He's got a real opportunity to make his presence felt in that league, and High Point has a real opportunity here. They're going to go 2-man up. 2 flags thrown on the field. One, I think, was a push on Jake Naso and a slashing call on one of the defensemen that Duke has out on the field right now. Some switches up on that defense, though. You get Jake Wilson out there, 44 for Duke.
Wickstead around goal line extended. Maye off the turf. His first goal of the day, and that comes before the penalties are assessed.
Would have loved to have that goal about 25 minutes ago. A really slow start for Braden Maye. Finally gets it going here with under 5 minutes left in the third. Probably one of the best inside finishers in the A10. Is an amazing score that these High Point Panthers have.
The reigning A10 Offensive Player of the Week finally gets uncorked offensively. You see the numbers last Saturday. All of those came in the first half against Mercer.
Braden Maye did a really good job in that first half versus Mercer. 4 goals, 1 assist, 5 points as High Point took their first win 14-7. Obviously, he's not only an offensive guy, he is a torment in the riding game. He causes a turnover pretty much every game. He is all around one of the best attackmen that these High Point Panthers have had.
Maye last season led this team in goals. He had 45. There were 2 flags thrown, Mike, before Maye's goal. You were believing it was going to be a slash as well as a procedural violation on Naso. Is that still your assumption here as the refs converse?
I think that the procedural violation wasn't necessarily on Naso. It could have been on one of the short stick defensemen that were on the wing, but there was an obvious aggressive push in the middle of the field that awarded that first penalty, and then Luke Wilson checking into the game.
We've got an official word.
Jake
the penalties
Wilson.
On Jake Wilson and Henry Bard. So a pair of long poles on the pine as High Point goes 2 men up here. two men up here looking to erase this deficit.
And I'm curious as to what Duke's defense will do here. I'd imagine that they'd probably throw a box and one, keep that short stick locked off inside. I'd imagine the crease player would probably be Brady Maillet or Isaiah Moore in Weeks here. It's a real opportunity for High Point to decrease this lead. 4 more goals and it's a 6-point game. So a real opportunity with under 5 in the third.
A pair of 1-minute penalties being assessed against a pair of Duke players. So High Point, 2 men up for the next minute. As we head to the face-off X, Luca Accardo returning there. He and Colin Hoban have split duties all afternoon. It's been 50% even both ways. And Naso wins a much-needed tiebreaker with Duke 2 men down.
And this is going to be a real test for this Duke defense. If their stick skills are good enough, they're going to be able to get out of this pickle that they're in.
It helps that they have the ball, trying to clear long. O'Neal is laid out. And the referees may come back to that. It was Tyler Carpenter, the long stick midfielder, who got decked. Zawada will retain possession for Duke.
Here's the replay of the push. Good call there. Loose ball push. Didn't have security of the ball long enough. And Jackson Clay came in there, laid the hit. Duke's awarded possession.
And they're about to kill this 2-man down situation as well. Best defense is a good offense, isn't it?
And when you got Jake Naso at the face-off X, any offense is a good offense when you win as many times as he does.
McAdory still going to work at X. Has the shorty matchup with Mudlaff. Johnston. Back to some of those first-line guys for Duke. O'Neal on the pick and roll. And the shot clock will expire for Duke.
I don't think Duke understood that they had not a lot of seconds left on that shot clock. A really good through pass look from Johnston to Balsamo. Unable to secure that one with one hand. And here's an opportunity for High Point now. Successful clear.
High Point unable to take advantage of the 2-man up situation. They are now 1 of 3 in that department.
Well, it's kind of hard to take advantage of the man-up situation when throughout the entirety of that whole entire minute, you didn't have the ball once.
That's got to be a brutal break if you're
John
Torby.
Very brutal break for these Panthers. That was probably this opportunity in the third quarter if they wanted to try to claw their way back.
It was Braden Maillet who scored right before the penalties were assessed. Here's Nick Rizzo. As the shorty matchup on Caputo. Maillet, goal line extended, swings that one in the soccer nets. Backed up by Wickstead.
And I enjoy the idea that Rizzo has the short stick matchup, but he's just trying to make too many moves there. He's moving way too much in one spot. A little too much commotion inside. Hard finish for Braden Maillet.
Meehan. The star of that first half for High Point. They've bottled him up here in the third. Van Overbank's been bottled up all afternoon. Does get his hands free. Jameson's been a tough man to beat recently. Rizzo free. Jameson once again.
Two really good back-to-back saves from Jameson. Obviously, a pretty tough save off that Rizzo shot. A really good job to step into it.
Now O'Neal pushing tempo, and a pole goal for Duke. Jake Wilson, the defenseman, extends the lead for the Blue Devils.
Jake Wilson, as I said earlier, all these poles are able to push into the offensive zone. And Brendan O'Neal finds the wide open pole. Wilson, an easy shot inside. A very hard save for over. And it's hard to see where that ball is going to come out of to judge the plane of that shot, especially coming out of defenseman's stick. It's a long, rangy shot motion. And a great shot from Jake Wilson there, his second goal this season.
Dating back to the start of the third quarter, Duke is outscoring High Point 8-1.
They came out in that third quarter and really started to fire these goals on offense. A lot of really good ball movement, quick passes inside is what we've seen from Duke today.
They've had almost no issues in the clear despite High Point's aggressive ride mindset.
When all these guys are able to handle the ball in a fashion that they could be starting midfielders on some of these Division I lacrosse teams, and they're just in a really good spot here with the Blue Devils.
Zawada, already 6 points today. He and Dyson Williams have been the key catalysts. Papendic momentarily free, and Overend stops the ensuing shot from Zawada. Last minute of the third, and it'll be a quarter John Torpy and company will want to forget.
It's a tough team, and if you really want to be able to win against Duke, you got to be able to win all 4 quarters. High Point did a really good job in the first half, but it's just been all Duke since the start of the third. They came out running, they came out with a mission, and they have so far accomplished that.
Energy feels a little deflated here in Vert. This place was bubbling with anticipation at the opening faceoff. Morin Weeks unable to cause trouble, and that's the end of the third. Duke outscores High Point 8-1 to take an 11-goal advantage as there's some late extracurriculars at the end of 45 minutes. It is all Blue Devils here in the final 15. And the only one they will play in the friendly confines of Vert Stadium. You can see the fans sense that. They've turned out en masse. Hoban and Aso back to the faceoff. Duke a narrow advantage in that department so far today.
This has been one of the many positives for High Point today, really controlling that faceoff X, and a great job from Tyler Barrett to scoop up that ground ball. That's one of those things you've been lacking throughout the entirety of this game. You win the initial faceoff, but that second ground ball that's on the ground has to be won and fought for by the Panthers.
Another loose pass. Rizzo fortunate enough to recycle it for the Panthers. We mentioned in the clear game and also in the attacking area, passing not quite as crisp as I'm sure John Torpy would like.
You got to keep those passes up. It all involves with keeping your head up, forming to see the next play. If you got your head down with the intent to try to go to the goal, you're not going to see the next open man.
Meehan unable to get downhill. Finds Maye around goal line extended. Henry Bard, step for step with him. Change in goal for Duke. It is Griffin Rackauer, the Princeton grad transfer. John Danowski says he and Patrick Jamison are 1 and 1A on the depth chart this season for Duke as they look to iron out their goalkeeping situation. Rackauer made 5 starts last season for Princeton. Has played at some of the highest levels of college lacrosse. The Ivy League is nothing to scoff at.
He's a very capable goalie, but one thing I will say about him, he likes to overextend his hands a little bit and plays a little bit too far out on the pipe. So hopefully High Point can recognize that and maybe get a couple goals here.
Johnston with a hat trick.
And there's that freshman getting number 3 on the day. A really nice shot location. Usually he likes to put it off the ground, get it up high, but there he puts it, that one low and away. It's where Duke has made most of their winnings here. Great pass, great feed from Brennan O'Neill, and he finds the freshman.
There's an interesting story online about Ben Johnston. Himself and Thomas Delgado, both in the same class around the New England area playing high school lacrosse up there. They come in and they've been mentored by Aiden Denenza, a fellow bigger midfielder with size and height. And they say he's welcomed them with open arms and taught them the ins and outs of the college lacrosse game so far.
Tenenza, 6'3", 220. I played against him a fair amount at Chaminade when he went to St. Anthony's, and then on the club lacrosse spectrum when I played for Express. And he is a really, really great player. There's not a lot of guys that can step down and fire the ball with the tenacity and ferocity that Aiden Tenenza withholds.
You were a long pole. You draw that matchup much?
I drew the matchup a lot. There's another guy, Dylan D'Agostino, who goes to Navy. That was one that I would draw more often. He was an aggressive midfielder, loved to get to the middle of the field a lot. But Tenenza was more of their step-down midfielder, spot-up shooter.
Over and back goes back to High Point. High Point has managed 1 goal since halftime. Make it 2. Much needed to stem the tide for the Panthers.
And there's Jackson Clay with the feed. He finds Matt Lutzel, who gets his second start at attack today. Really great shot from him. Understands that this goalie is not fresh. He hasn't had a warm-up yet. Most warm-up he's had is on the sideline facing a few shots. But really good feed and finish. Jackson Clay off the feed, and Matt Lutzel with the finish.
Just Lutzel's 3rd career goal, his 2nd of this season. Made only 7 appearances a year ago as a freshman. High Point with their 2nd goal since halftime. They've got a tall order if they hope to claw back into this, but Hoban starts things off well at the X. Duke's long poles have been ferocious today.
I'm just not sure what that pass is, what his intention was there. Obviously, he sees that there's a Duke defenseman draped all over Braden Maye. Obviously, Braden Maye's stick skills are 1 in a million, but right there's got to be another decision to make.
High Point will corral it back anyways. When you look at the clear game, Duke 18 of 21, High Point 14 of 17. Maye working on Bard, gets his hands free, runs into the slide. Can't quite trouble Rackhauer. We'll stay with High Point, though.
Yeah, Duke defenseman in the crease after he got the ball. Good eyes from the referee to notice that one.
Meehan loses it. Kenny Brower making his impact felt. You mentioned not the smoothest guy on the field, but a physical force.
Yeah, and that's why I said old school Long Island guy. You see the way he cradles the ball. He's got half of his entire body spread across that entire stick. So he's really great with ground balls. He keeps his hand pretty high up on the stick, so he's able to get low and away and really scoop some of those tough GBs. But he is immensely physical, wants to cause a turnover, wants to get that ball out of your stick, and he is going to keep you in front of him the entire time.
O'Neal tries to wrap around. He's being pressured by Brenfleck. That has been the matchup all day. Those two history being matched up with one another. Zawada skips to Papendick. Tenenza's free. Good stop by Overent.
Great stop by Overton, but an even better job from Duke's offense there, recognizing that there is one more pass. That's what High Point's offense hasn't been able to do. Tenenza came in from the box. Easy goal from him, but an even better save from Zach Overton to go low and away and make that one.
Big extra pass guy, right?
Big extra pass. Always make the one more.
Ian Can back into the action. Was whistled for offside earlier. Has been in and out of the rotation this season.
I like my fundamentals, Sam. Big fundamentals guy.
You're just baiting me to make a Ted Lasso reference. Was loose on the doorstep, and the attacker went in the crease for High Point.
I do have the mustache, so all Ted Lasso references and comparisons are welcomed.
I think I did it once last year.
Love that guy.
And you nearly lost your mind, so I was debating whether to do it again.
Well, I'll try not to lose my mind this time.
Carpenter looking at clear. Jake Caputo involved in that action. They sling it long. Great work by Overend out of his cage.
And he sent a prayer to the middle of the field. Vano finding that one. Risky pass from him, especially with an open goal and an open lane to the net.
Meehan. Goal line extended with a bouncer. Tussle around the crease, ultimately clamped on by Rackhauer, the reserve keeper for Duke, in the midst of a goalkeeping battle with Patrick Jamieson, who was very impressive today. Here's Williams. He's got 5 to his name. Midway through this final quarter of action, and Duke looks well on their way to yet another non-conference victory. Squad that is hungry after falling in the national championship game to Notre Dame last May. John Danowski said, on the one hand, it was such a fun campaign. So many guys were angry after we missed the tournament in 2022, and it felt like we were playing with house money. But this year, we have to train up in our returners that you're not entitled to that spot. You have to work every single day to get there. Duke has taken care of business so far today.
They're number 2 in the nation for a reason. Obviously, the loss to Notre Dame in the NCAA championship is a tough loss.
Quick stick for Zawada. Balsamo scoops up the loose change. Duke leading by 12. Charles Balsamo, the man who opened the scoring, adds another, Mike.
Picks out the most that Jacksonville game. One of those teams that is in history for beating the Blue Devils. Obviously, they have a fair share of winning records against non-conference opponents. The Duke, under Danowski's tenure, he only has an under 500 record against 3 teams, which is immensely impressive.
Some Coach K numbers.
Yeah, Maryland 5-9. He's 1-2 against Ohio State, and then all-time against Syracuse, he's 8-10.
Jacksonville beating Duke last year. Delgado's free. He gets his first.
And there goes Thomas Delgado, the 5'11 freshman. Another one of those players ranked incredibly high on that inside freshman top 100 list. Beats his matchup, sets his feet, and sends a beautiful shot into the cage. Gets that one past Overend, and he gets his first goal of the day.
First goal and first point of the young freshman's career.
A great opportunity for him with the Blue Devils. He's on that third midfield line, but a very highly ranked freshman for a reason. He got recruited to Duke for a reason, and there he showcases his innate ability to score.
He's accustomed to playing with stars as well, Mike. He played with 5th-ranked freshman Leo Hoffman in high school, who's playing in the Ivy League now. Had 38 goals and 22 assists as a U.S. Lacrosse All-American his senior year in 2023. Opens his Duke account with a plum late in the 4th. Van Overback to the top on the edge of the crease. Goal stands, and the Panthers put it right back in the cage. Matt Lutzel's second of the day.
Number 2 for Lutzel. Vano drew the double team, understood that if he kept his eyes up, he had an open Matt Lutzel. And there you see it. Pins that top right corner, assumes the contact, and still finishes. A really good start for this young man.
T-shirts being tossed across Vert Stadium. Fans have still stayed out to watch the end of this game. Despite Van Overback's struggles in attack today, he still has 2 assists.
A facilitating attackman nonetheless, but he is very capable of putting the ball in the goal. There's an opportunity for a replay review.
They'll look it over once again. This is the 4th review we've had of the day. Only 1 challenge has been issued all afternoon. So we'll take one more look at Lutzel's goal to see if it stands. Game that hasn't had much momentum in it due to the review in many respects.
They had their momentum taken away off that last review that Tommy Meehan had.
I don't know if this one stands, Mike.
Check this replay one more time. I think it's a defensive penalty here. I don't think there's any sort of quorum with the decision on the goal.
There was some tiptoeing around the crease by Lutzel. Stick came before he hit the crease, it seems. Not in the crease. Yeah, I think you're looking at potential more severe penalty on the defender there, right?
Yeah, I think that they're going to award that one towards the Duke defense. I think it's just an overly aggressive push. They're in the tent reviewing that play there. Really slow outing here in the second half for High Point. Obviously, not the story that they had written for themselves today, but there's a lot of positives. Like I've mentioned a million times, the face-off X, one of those being positives that you can take away.
High Point today, 15 of 31 at the face-off X. It's a question over the severity of the hit. That line you're seeing on your screen is the soccer top of the 18 line. The black line itself is the crease. I'm going to call a 1-minute unreleasable penalty on Duke. It's Charlie Johnson, the sophomore defender, who is the man penalized. So High Point, a man up for the next minute. Regardless of whether they score or not, the penalty will run on for the full minute.
Six minutes, 45 seconds left. They have an opportunity to decrease this lead into out of double digits into single digits. Bellarmine did it. High Point has an opportunity to do so here.
That 2012 scoreline much closer than the game itself.
It was 20-5 at the 5-minute mark of the third quarter, and they finally made the goalie change. They put a lot of guys out there that won't necessarily get a lot of playing time once you get into the bulk of that conference schedule.
At one point in that game, Duke made a 14-0 run. Here today, an 8-1 run throughout the bulk of the third quarter, making the difference and giving them the separation needed.
And you obviously don't want to be playing your best lacrosse in February. It's a long season ahead, a long road ahead for a lot of these teams that are going to be playing in May. High Point being one of those hopeful teams.
And you figure Duke will be tested over the course of this non-conference slate. You mentioned Jacksonville, a couple other standouts. And then ACC play is no cakewalk. Virtually every team is ranked. Nice skip pass and a terrific finish around goal line extended for Rizzo. High Point cashes in on the man up.
Nick Rizzo cashing it on the man up. Here's the replay. Really good skip pass from Isaiah Moore and Weeks, finding the open Rizzo. An easy shot and finish for number 9.
Rizzo gets on the board with his first point of the day, someone who drew preseason acclaim from the Atlantic 10, a crucial piece in this midfield for High Point.
Third goal of the season. Really shifty midfielder, quick hands. It was a really good job. 8 yards in from the goal.
Well, into the business end of proceedings. Still a double-digit lead for Duke. The man up finally going to be released, and the Blue Devils up to full strength. Braden Maye just 2 points to his name today. Rizzo just scored. Trying to get topside, draws the slide. Vanover back. Maye's free. Bouncer backed up by Moore and Weeks. High Point has stayed competitive in the shots battle, but it has been a matter of shot quality and efficiency that's made the difference. Cook skips inside. Rackauer will send possession back to Duke. Well, if you are High Point, doesn't look like things will break your way, barring a massive Duke meltdown. What do you take from a contest like this?
Well, obviously, they came into this game understanding that this is one of the best teams in the nation. And if they were going to come out and win, they were going to have to play 4 complete quarters of perfect lacrosse. And they're very capable of doing so and will be once we get into the thick of the season. But right now, High Point, a lot of youth on their side, especially a lot of inexperience on the defensive front. So an interesting season on the horizon for High Point. But obviously, once A-10 conference play comes around, they are a team in the A-10 that you don't want to mess with, offensively and at the X.
And Overback was flirting at the crease on the skip pass, a slash drawn by Maye. Duke will be a man down once again.
Braden Maye just got tripped up there. Defenseman's stick gets caught up and tangled in his legs. You know, sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it just happens. You throw a check and it's not landing anywhere where you intended to.
Charlie Johnson's had a rough day on the penalty front. Gets out of trouble moments ago, back in there for a minute for the trip. Morenwick's tough angle. Rizzo keeps it with High Point.
I mean, for him, you got to think that he understands this is one of his only opportunities that he is going to get to play in a real game setting. So he's going out there and putting it all on the line, whether he's going to cause a penalty or not. He wants to make an impact.
Murphy. Morenweeks keeps it with the Panthers once again. Just a freshman. It's a very deep Duke roster. And so many upperclassmen. Coach Danowski says they're probably not going to play too many freshmen outside of their standouts. But it's a Duke program where if you are a stud freshman, you will play meaningful minutes. For High Point, it's all about experience for John Torpy and company.
Well, a lot of the times you get some of these freshmen that come into Duke with an ample amount of experience. They play with Division I talent in their colleges and with the teams that they play with in the travel lacrosse game as well. It's a constant Division I matchup that they're very used to seeing that level of play on the field. And it's pretty often that it translates onto the field for these Duke freshmen.
Full stable of reserves in the game now for Duke. And look to the X for Brock Gonzalez, a 6'5", 275-pound grad transfer from Amherst.
Amherst, a prolific Division III team.
Liam McLean at X, loses out. High Point pushing numbers. Some of their standouts still on the field. Van Overback will back it up. And you mentioned playing 4 quarters. It was always going to be a tall order in your second game of the season with a lot of guys still returning from major injuries. You've got to give them credit for how they competed in the early going, and they'll learn a lot about their program ahead of some of those more winnable matchups in non-conference play in the next couple weeks.
And the goal of his career, a crease dive goal, a very aggressive player who is going to make a lot of people mad at High Point with the way that he's going to play. A lot of their opponents are not going to like him once he starts to get comfortable.
Rizzo ventures around the horn. Maye scoops up the loose change, only to have it popped free. We'll stay with High Point, though. Final 2 minutes here from Vert Stadium. Game in which Duke took it over fully in the third quarter, haven't looked back since. They were looking for Cook on the edge of the crease. It's forced around GLE. Meehan. Shot clock stays at 55. Duke can run it down around the 30-second mark. Good looking interception for the Blue Devils. Came through Jake Wilson. Reed Landon held.
1 minute remaining. 1 minute.
Last minute of things, it's all academic from here on out. If you are Duke, you've got to be relatively pleased with how this turned out. You take the game over right around the business end of things. And in the fourth quarter, you can get some of your lesser experienced guys some important game time.
40 goals in your first 2 games is a tally that any team can dream about coming about, and the Duke Blue Devils have done so in their first 2 contests. A really high-powered offense that the rest of Division I is going to have to look out for.
Gonzalez, the big man on the board for Duke.
Duke goal number 14, Gonzalez.
6'5", 275 with goal number 1.
What a rip from the big boy. Defense slides. He's got an open step down and uses that lefty ripper. You can imagine him at Amherst was a problem for any D3 defenseman. Bigger guy, probably played attack, X-attack, so dodged at goal line extended. Rollbacks were definitely his thing.
How are you guarding that?
I'm not. I'm calling for a 2-slide, quick. Calling for a substitution.
Calling for substitution. Whistle against High Point, and Duke is going to see this one out from here. 21 goals, 41 goals through their first 2 games. An offense that was ranked 5th in the nation a season ago with major statements here in their first 2 games. Mike, dominant from Duke here today. They win by 12.
A big statement win for them, winning by 12 against the High Point Panthers. It's hard to come into an away game and put up points like they did. 21 goals, a really exceptional tally for these Blue Devils. A lot of young guys getting involved. Ben Johnson gets his first career hat trick. An exceptional showcase from the Blue Devils in their second win of the season.
So for my broadcast partner, Mike Guerriere, our producer, Kyle Ritchie, this is Sam Goldfarb saying so long here from Vert Stadium. The Duke Blue Devils prevail in 21-9 fashion to set up their rest of their non-conference slate in good form. Meanwhile, High Point, they'll need to regroup next week ahead of their clash with VMI. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. We'll see you next time on ESPN+.